I like to do my grading at home and more my planning at school, so because of that, I probably won't get to the grading today. But I'll do some tonight and then I can do more tomorrow night if I'm not done. And so I don't know how anyone did. I can say overall, I'm not marking a ton wrong, so that's good, okay? All right, okay, so today we are going to learn some super important things that we use from now until the end of the class. The first part, it's not too hard to understand the things, but your homework for this section makes it probably more difficult than it needs to be. So don't be surprised when you get to the homework if it's a struggle for you, okay? So the first thing we're gonna talk about today is called adjacent angles. And adjacent angles are two angles that are right next to each other. So I'll show you what that means. Let's say that this is angle 1, and then angle 2 shared this ray, and it was right here, okay? So when you have two angles that are right next to each other, and they share a vertex as well as a side, they are called adjacent angles, right next to each other. But again, they have to share a vertex and a side, okay? If I look here at some examples, angle 1 and angle 2 are right next to each other. They share this vertex and they share that side. Angle 1 is here, angle 2 is there. They share this vertex and that side. Okay. And then here we have angle 3, which is right here. So this is a non-example. They're not adjacent, and the reason is they're saying angle 3 is right here, but angle ABC is this whole angle. So the purple angle and this green angle are not next to each other. The purple angle is actually a part of the green angle, so that's why they're not adjacent. They do not share a side. They share a vertex, but they don't share, or they share a side actually too, but they're not next to each other, okay? Angle 3 is a part of that one. And then this one here, angle 3 is right here, and angle ABC is right there, okay? Notice these two do not share a vertex and they do not share a side, so they're not adjacent. Everybody understand that? Yeah.
Are we supposed to have notes or is it like?
Oh gosh, yes. Thank you for telling me that. Do you guys find it hard to know how to dress? I feel like one day it's hot in here, and the next day, but do you feel it's a little cold today? Colder than yesterday, you think? Maybe it'll get warmer by the end of the day again. Okay. And a couple of things about homework really quick, you guys. If you ever turn in an assignment late and you were absent, make sure you put that on the top so I don't take off points. But like if you were gone last Friday, you should have it turned in by today. So you can't, like what I've had some kids do in the past is they're gone Friday and they might wait a week before they turn it in. you only get 2 days for 1 day missed, so just so you are aware of that, okay? All right, so there is something that we're gonna talk about today that's called a linear pair. And here's what a linear pair is. It's a pair of angles that make a line, okay? So if I were to draw what a linear pair looks like, it would be like this, angle 1 and 2. Now notice they're adjacent. They're right next to each other. They share a vertex and they share a side. But what makes them a linear pair is together they form a straight line, okay? What do you guys think is true about angle 1 and 2 if they form a straight line? Anyone have any idea? Like, how many degrees would they add up to? 180. So that's something we're gonna do a lot today. So one of the things that would be true here, you could say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180 degrees, okay? So here they're showing us an example of angle 1 and 2. And notice that they share this vertex as well as that side. So 1 and 2 are adjacent, or I'm sorry. And they form a straight line, so that makes them a linear pair, okay? This one is talking about angle ADB, which is this angle, and angle ADC, which is this angle. Are those two adjacent? Do they share a vertex and do they share a side? They do. Are they a linear pair? No, because this is not a straight line, correct? All right. Now, this is another thing that we talk about from now until the end of the course, and it's vertical angles, okay? Vertical angles are angles that are across from one another when you have like lines that intersect, okay? And they have to be straight lines. So I'll show you what I mean by that. If I draw 2 straight lines, okay? And I'm gonna label these 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? If you have an angle that is right across from another angle when 2 straight lines intersect, they are called vertical angles, okay? And one of the things we're gonna learn today is they're also congruent or equal. So angle 1 here would be congruent to angle 3, okay? Now, another thing that would be true is 2 and 4 are also vertical. So we have our 2 intersecting lines and they're angles that are across from one another. So 2 and 4 are also vertical and they're also equal to each other. Now, here's an example of vertical angles. And one of the things that I want to explain is you can know one of those angles measures and you can find the other 3. So let's say that this was 100. Can anyone tell me what one other angle there would be if you knew that was 100?
50.
Wouldn't 2 also be 100? Do you agree with that? Aren't those 2 equal because they're vertical? Okay. What about that one? 80. How do we know that's 80? These 2 form a straight line, right? And when 2 angles form a straight line, they add up to 180. And then what do you guys think that would be? 80, very good. All right. Why are these not vertical angles?
One is not a straight line.
Yes, because this is not a straight line. Very good. All right. So here is a part of what your assignment's going to look like today. And this is kind of the part I was saying. Like, they could have made easier diagrams. Some of them are a little bit challenging, so don't be surprised when you get to that if you have questions. So this one says, name two vertical acute angles. Acute means what? Less than 90, okay? So here's what we want. We want two straight lines that intersect, and we want two angles across from one another that both look like they're less than 90. Yeah. JKG right here. The thing is, that is less than 90, that is acute, but isn't it these two straight lines that are intersecting? So I have to use this angle, this whole angle, this angle, or that angle. Do you guys get that? Okay. Do you guys see an angle that we can tell from the diagram is less than 90? Yeah, what is it?
FKG.
FKG. Do you guys see that? This is 90 going here, so that means this has to be less than 90, so it's acute. This one right here. And then they want the other vertical angle. Do you guys get that would be this one over there? Okay, because vertical are across from one another. So we can say angle FKG and angle EKH. Okay? All right. Now it says name two obtuse vertical angles. If these two are acute, do you guys get those two would be obtuse, right? So wouldn't it be this one and this one? Do you guys understand why I know they're obtuse? Like if one is 80 and it's acute, to add up to 180, this one's gonna have to be 100, which is bigger than 90, okay? So I'm gonna write those two that I have marked in purple, so I'm gonna say angle EKF and angle HKG. Okay. Now it says name a linear pair. Now there's more than one answer here. Do you guys remember what a linear pair was? A pair of angles that form a straight line. Do we have a straight line right here? Yeah. So could it be this angle and that angle together? Do they form a straight line? That's one example, right? It could be this one, think of this straight line. It could be that one and this one also. It could be this here, they're a little bit harder because you have 3 rays, but just ignore one of the rays. It could be this angle and that angle, okay? So it's any two angles that together form a straight line. So we could say, I'm gonna do this first one, angle HKE and angle EKF. But again, that's not the only answer there, okay? Then, name two acute adjacent angles, okay? We want two angles. What does acute mean? Less than 90. And adjacent means right next to each other. Do you guys get this is an acute angle? Oops. Right here. What's one next to it that also looks less than FKG right here? In fact, these two together form a 90-degree angle, so they have to be less than 90. So I can say angle FKG angle GKJ. Okay? Then, let's go down here. Now, this is something that I already talked about, okay? When you have vertical angles, we talked about the fact that vertical angles are when you have two straight lines that intersect. Vertical angles would be like 1 and 3 here, and they would be congruent. So when you have two straight lines, vertical angles are angles across from each other. Then this one and that one are also vertical, okay? Now, we have two other terms that we're going to do today, and this might be something you want to put in your notes. If not, that's okay. If you're in my classroom, we're gonna learn complementary and supplementary. And complementary is the one we're learning first. Do you guys see how the C and O, they made into 90? What complementary means is any time you have two angles that add up to 90, okay? So here, angle 1 and angle 2, don't they form a 90 degree because of that box? So they're complementary. Here, this is an example of two angles that add up to 90 that aren't adjacent. They're not right next to each other, but they don't have to be. So anytime two angles add up to 90, they're complementary. And you can always look up there. If that's something you'd want to write in your notes, you know, just say like, you could even copy this. Complementary angles are two angles with measures that have a sum of 90. Okay, so if you wanted to write that down, you certainly could. Okay, now let's go to this page and we're going to talk about supplementary angles. And if you guys look up here, the S for supplementary is made into 180. The S for supplementary is made into 180. So if you guys look here, do you see how these two angles together form a line? Okay, that means they're supplementary. Okay, the reason is supplementary means they add up to 180. So like in this position here, you would say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180 degrees. So one thing they could expect today, if they told you this is 120, you'd be able to find that to be 60 because they add up to 180. And supplementary angles can be right next to each other and add up to 180, but they don't have to be right next to each other, okay? So here's another type of question that you could have today. It says, name an angle complementary to angle EKH. Now, this is not something I'd ever put on a test or anything like that, okay? Do you guys think just by looking, we're looking for something with this that adds up to 90. Do you guys agree that one almost looks like it's close to 90 already? So do you have an answer? Yeah, what is it? GKJ, okay? That one's already almost 90, so you'd have to pick one that's small for it to add up to that. So we're gonna say angle GKJ. Okay? Now, it says name an angle supplementary to angle FKG right here. An angle supplementary to that. What does supplementary mean again? Equal 180. So what we wanna do here, guys, is see if we can find another angle that forms a straight line with our angle marked in green. Is there another angle that together makes a straight line? Is there two of them? Do you see that one of them could be this angle right here, right? Don't they form a straight line? And another one could be this angle, because the blue and the green form that straight line. So there's two answers. I would think most of you would pick EKF, angle EKF. Okay? Now, if I go down here, I would like you guys to copy this down right here. And then I'm going to do you guys know this means measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 equals 180, okay? And if I didn't say this, I would draw like the green and the purple too, if you didn't do that, okay? Okay, did I give you enough time? Okay, so this is what this type of problem is going to look like. They are going to have expressions, and most of the time, some are gonna have X's and some are gonna have Y's, okay? You start with the one that you know two of. And if you notice, we have two of them that have X's. And what you wanna think about is, are those two vertical? Or do they together form a straight line? How about this one and that one? Are they across from each other and they're vertical? Or together do they form a straight line? Do you see that they're vertical? Everybody see that? They're across from one another. So if you looked back at what you guys wrote, it says if they are vertical, set them equal to each other. So what we would do is we'd go 2x plus 25 equals 3x minus 10 and we would solve that, okay? Now when we do this, I would bring my 2x over to my 3x just because I'd rather not have a negative. And right now that 2x is positive, so we can subtract it. And then I get 25 equals x minus 10. Then I would add 10, and I would get x equals 35, okay? Now if you look back at the directions, okay, the directions say find the value of each variable. So we found x, but I still need to find y, okay? So here's what you would need to do. You now know what your x is. So probably what I would do is I would deal with this right up here. Do you guys get these two together form a line? So what would we know about them? They add up to 180. But we have two variables there, and we can't solve that when it has two variables. But could I find that angle if I know what x is, right? Could I go 2 and put 35 in here? 2 times 35 plus 25 is what? That would be 70 plus 25, which is 95. So this angle is 95. Now is it easy to find y if together they add up to 180? Do you guys get that? So wouldn't y be 95, or sorry, 180 minus 95? Do you guys get that? Which is 85, right? And that is your answer. So test A, you could put your x into each of those, make sure they're the same. Put your y in there and make sure that works out too. Okay, let's go down to this one. This one looks pretty overwhelming when you first look at it because you have like pretty big expressions and you have 4 of them, okay? Here's the deal. You always start with either, in that case, you have 2 of one and 2 of the other, so it doesn't matter where you start. Either start with your 2 x's or your 2 y's, okay? Let's start with our y's over here, but you could have certainly done the x's. Do you guys get that 2x plus 50 and 5y minus 17 together make a straight line? So what do I know about them? They equal 180. Does everybody understand that? Because they form a straight line, they're a linear pair and they equal 180. And back here it says, if they are a linear pair, add them together and set them equal to 180. And linear pair, if you wanted to above this, say straight line. So if they form a straight line, you add them together and set them equal to 180. So I'm gonna do 2y plus 50 plus 5y minus 17 equals 180. So each time you do these, you have to ask yourself, do I set them equal? And you do that if they're vertical. Or do you add them together and set them equal to 180, which you do if they are a linear pair. Now add your 2y plus 5y, that's 7y. 50 minus 17 is 33, and that equals 180, okay? Now what I'm gonna do to bring that 33 over, I'm gonna subtract 33, okay? And I get 7y equals 180 minus 33 is 147. If I divide by 7, y is going to equal, if you divide that out, you are going to get 21. Now, unfortunately, we're not done yet, okay? We found y. I still have to find x. Now, notice that these two with x's also form a straight line. If they're a straight line, that means they're a linear pair, and that means they add up to 180. So we're gonna go 7x minus 248 plus x plus 44 equals 180. Okay? Now, 7x plus x is 8x. Negative 248 plus 44 is negative 204, and that equals 180. Then what I'm going to do is add 204. And I get 8x equals, is that 384? Divide by 8, 48. And again, if you were on your quiz or test, you could put your x's in, put your y's in, figure out the two angle, or put x in here, figure out that. This and this should be equal. These two should add up to 180. Put y in there, put x in there. Those two should equal, and so on. So you can check your answer.
Couldn't you also do like your CT by y which would equal 5y minus 17% and then plug in that?
Yes. So you're saying you know what your y is, right? So you could put y into here and figure out what this angle is. So like go 5 times 21 minus 17 and find this angle. And then you're saying set it equal to that angle.
But isn't it already equal since it's like vertical?
Because they're vertical, yes.
Yeah, so if you equal them each other, can you find x that way?
Yep, you sure can. Yep, good. All right. So now we're going to do 2 word problems. And this is the part that I don't think you're gonna like, but I promise you, if you do it the way I show you, that it will make life so much easier. So let's look at this. It says, find the measures of 2 supplementary angles. If the difference in the measures of the 2 angles is 18, okay? So this is what you do. You first are going to be given either that you have supplementary angles or complementary angles. In this case, we have supplementary. And what I always do is I say, let my angle be x. Now, let's think about this. If I told you I had an angle that was 20, and I asked you for the supplement of it, that means 20 plus what would give me 180? 20 plus 160. Another way you could think of that is 180 minus 20 would give you that 160. If I said 1 is 100, what's the other one if they're supplementary? You could go 180 minus 100, and that's 80, okay? What if I said this one is x? So remember, if I said this was 100, you could think 180 minus 100 is 80. If I said this was 150, you could think 180 minus 150 is 30. What if this was x? 180 minus, what's this? X, okay? So, we don't know what this is, but together we know they add up to 180. So if one of them is x, the other one is going to be 180 minus x. If they tell you you have complementary angles, one of them would be x and
the other one would be 90 minus x. Okay? Now let's make a box here, and that's where we're going to put our answers. Okay? Now, it says find the measures of two supplementary angles if, bless you, the difference in the measures of the two angles. Difference means what? Subtract. Now here's the thing. I always call this one the ugly angle. I don't know why, but I do. It just is the one with more, okay? If I'm having to subtract, I always put the ugly one in front so I don't have to do parentheses and distribute the minus sign. So I would go the ugly one, and I want to find the difference in the measures. So then I have to subtract the other one. So I took the 180 minus x and I subtracted the other angle, which is just x. And then it says, is 18. What does is mean? Equals, very good. So then I would say equals 18. Okay? Now I just have to do my algebra. This is the worst part. So this is going to be minus 1x, okay? Now, what is negative 1x minus 1x? Negative 2x. Equals 18, okay? Now what I would do, I have my x on one side, so I'm going to bring my numbers to the other side. This is a positive 180, so I'm going to subtract it. And I get negative 2x equals negative 162. Divide by negative 2. And x is 81. Okay? Now, when I go to do this, I would put the 81 in for x. That was my answer. And then what I would do is go 180 minus 81 to find what this is. And 180 minus 81 is 99. Now again, we're on the quiz. We want to make sure we did it right. You could take, and it says the difference in these measures is 18. And you could go 99 minus 81, and that is 18. Now, some of you might be thinking, that one I could have done in my head. And you could take any two numbers that add up to 180 and keep subtracting them until you find two that subtract to give you 18. And that does work. However, the reason I showed you this is as we go through, you're going to see these problems get harder, and then you can't do them in your head. And that's why I show you this way. All right, now let's go to this one. And this one we have two complementary angles. So what we would do is let our angle be x, and what do you think we'd let the complement be? 90 minus x, very good. Now the hard part is writing that equation, okay? And here it says, find the measures of two complementary angles if the measure of the larger angle is. Now we don't know which one is larger, but that is means equals. So it means like your larger angle is going to equal something else. If I ever have to set one aside, I set the ugly one aside. So I would say 90 minus x equals. So I'm thinking 90 minus x is my largest one. And it says is 12 more than twice the measure of the smaller. How do I do twice the measure of this? Wouldn't it be multiplied by 2? And you'd get 2x. How do I do 12 more than that? Add 12. Do you get that? And then we can solve it. So the larger is 12 more than twice the measure of the smaller. So when I go to solve this, I would add x, and I would get 90 equals 3x plus 12. Then I would subtract 12, and I would get 3x equals 78. Divide by 3, and x is 24. Okay? Now, that tells us this is 24. How would I find that one? Which would be what, 66? Okay.
Yeah, it's 26.
Oh, you got 26. Thank you. 26. So then this would be a 6 and this would be a 4. Thank you for telling me that. And then if you were on the test, you could say, is this one, 64, equal to twice the smaller plus 12? And you could check, is 2 times 26 plus 12 equal to 64? And it is. Okay? All right, so I'm going to have you guys copy this down on your sheet for today. So that is your assignment. And like I said, today is one of the tougher days of homework. So if you have questions, don't think you're alone. Tomorrow when you come in, you can always ask me questions. Tomorrow's easier than today. Guys, we're doing 2 problems together, so you have to wait.
Oh.
Okay? I'm gonna do 2 of the harder problems with you, so just hold on to it. Okay. Did I give you enough time to write that? Okay, so let's go to your assignment and you can do, which ones was I doing? 27 and 58. So let's do 27 right away, okay? And 27 is one of those like the one I just gave you, okay? It says the measure of the supplement of an angle is, okay? So they're talking about a supplement, so we're gonna say let our angle equal x. Then they're talking about a supplement, and do you guys remember what we put if it's supplement? 180 minus x. Now, I would not give you one like this on a quiz, but the reason this one is hard is it also asks you, talks about a complement in the same problem. So what that means is this would be the complement, and that we could write as what? 90 minus x. And I think this is the only one you're gonna ever have like this, but I just wanna show you how this one would work. So you get that set up first. Normally you wouldn't have both supplement and complement. And this says the measure of the supplement of an angle is, okay? So the supplement is here, 180 minus x. What does is mean? Equals. And then it says, okay, the measure of the supplement of an angle is 40 more than. So if it's like less than or more than, that's adding or subtracting. Wait on that until you do the multiplying. So 40 more than 2 times the measure of the complement. 2 times the measure of the complement. So what I'd have to do is go 2 times 90 minus x. Do you get that? 2 times the measure of the complement. And then we're gonna add in the 40 more than this. How do I do 40 more than? Plus 40. Once you get it to that point, then it's algebra, okay? This is the hard part. So now I'm gonna go 180 minus x, and I'm gonna distribute my 2. Some of you might have multiplied both by 2 already, and that would be okay. But if you multiplied it, you should have gotten 180 minus 2x. You have to multiply both by 2. And then we still have that plus 40. Okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I am going to combine my 180 and my 40. And that is 220 minus 2x. Okay? And then when I look at this one, I can go and solve it. I always bring my smallest x over, and negative 2x is smaller than negative 1x, so I'm going to add 2x and bring it over. Then I would get 180. Negative x plus 2x is plus x equals 220. Then I'm going to subtract 180. Okay. And x would be 40. Okay. Now, here's what I am going to do. That x goes right here. Okay. Our supplement is 180 minus 40, which is 140. And our complement is 90 minus 40, which is 50. And so like this is your answer. Okay. Then we're gonna do one more and then I'll finally be quiet. So we're gonna do 58. So 58 says this. It says the measures of 2 supplementary angles are in the ratio of 11 to 4. Now you don't have to draw this out, but I'll just kind of show you what they mean here. You have 2 angles that add up to 180. And you know that if you reduce the fraction between the 2 or the ratio of them, it would be 11 over 4, but you don't know what each of them is. So here's how you do it. You make one of them be 11 times some x, and you make the other one be 4 times x. So in geometry, anytime you have a colon like that, okay, what you do when you have a colon is you put x with both of them. And that's what I did. Now, what would I know about those 2 if they're supplementary? They equal 180. So I can go 11x plus 4x equals 180. 11x plus 4x is 15x equals 180. Then I'm going to divide by 15. And x would be, is that 12? And what did they ask for? What is the measure of the larger angle? Do you guys agree 11x would be my larger one? So 11x would be 11 times 12, which would be, I think, 132. So that would be my answer. Okay? So again, tough section, do your best, ask questions tomorrow. So don't feel bad if you come in tomorrow and you have like 4 questions you need to do. Tomorrow we're doing a shorter lesson, we're finishing these notes, and then you'll have another assignment, okay? So do your best.